Hello, WBE fans. My name is Jacob, as always, and welcome back to weekly recaps for the Shield Division for week number 4. Who's joining me today? Because we're together.
Hello, WBE people. It's Dr. Slack and the Slack and Doctor. Happy to be here with my good friend for this week. It's going to be fun.
Yes, basically, our schedules have been insane. we always try to record Tuesday night, like at 5 p.m. CST, and what is it, 11 p.m. for you, I think? Something like that?
Yeah, it's 11 p.m. for
you,
that's right, yeah.
But, so for some reason, my boss, the last couple Tuesdays, have been like, no, we need you to stay until 6 o'clock. I'm just like, anyway, basically how we're going to do this is, it's Thursday now. We're literally recording this probably the day it's going up, because it's crazy. And he's got to go to bed soon, and he can't be loud or something. But we're going to record this. What's going to happen is we're going to do like the game of the week and then his games together, and then he's going to go off. And then I'm going to do my 3 separately, and then we're going to get this up, and hopefully it'll be up like at 11 p.m. on Thursday night. So we're hoping for that, guys. But
yeah, we thought it was better to get as many games as we could together rather than get none together. At least this way we'll have 4 matches together. We'll have half the week together, and then hopefully next week the work schedules and everything will line up better. But we'll just do our best every single week to get in call for as many games as we possibly can.
Exactly, but we appreciate everyone that's left feedback and stuff saying, hey, it's okay if you guys have to do it separately. We understand. But anyway, let's get into the game of the week, which is putting the Melbourne Rotoms, coached by Aaron Cybertron Zhang, versus the Maryland Terrapins, coached by Under the Radar, aka Kelly. Very fun game. Basically, it pit 2 very good coaches against each other, and Aaron really is learning the format a lot better. I actually left a comment on his video last week when he lost to... Who did he lose to last week? Was it... The Bristol City Blazekins he lost to. That's who it was. I lost to Game Boy Luke. So I just commented saying, hey, why don't you try to optimize your EVs a little bit? And it seems like he did that because he brought a really specially defensive Selgor here. Like, and it chewed like a plus, or no, it chewed a plus, it wasn't set up yet. It chewed a HP water in the rain from a circuitry, which is wild. And then he got himself Toxic Spikes up, and then he brought in Scarf Kartana to revenge the Circuitry right away because he didn't want to screw around with that. I don't blame him. Like, Scarfed Kartana was a really good bring here. Kelly didn't really have a lot for it on his team. He basically just had Mega Aggron, which he already said it himself during the gameplay. Yeah, I misplayed. Like, he knew it like pretty much right away that it happened. He let Aggron, I think he let it chew a Scald against Mega Slowbro, and it got burned, and that means he got his Kartana answer weakened. And throughout the battle, like, Kelly was really down in the battle. It was pretty crazy. And then he started pulling back the game, which was incredible. And he only ended up losing 2-0, but this really speaks to Kelly's or speaks volumes to Kelly's skill as a battler, because he knows that he misplayed, and that misplays happen to the best players out there. But he knows how he can improve for next time, and he knows. And he actually, I think, made some transactions. I don't think I'm going to go over because I don't know. Was the trading transactions there already?
Yeah, the trading transactions I think have already gone
so
up.
So did his week 5s, were his week 5 transactions on there?
Yeah, I believe so.
Where he dropped Mega Aggron for Mega Sableye, and then he dropped something Frogadier for Arbok, I think it was. So he fixed his issues to hazards, which he did do a video on, like just an overall talk about hazards in Draft League format, which you should go check it out. But anyway, point is, like, he fixed it because Mega Sableye has Magic Bounce, so that can really fix the problem to getting hazards stacked, and Arbok can get rid of Toxic Spikes, which makes it a lot better for his team as well. And his team's not really weak to Sticky Webs because he's got a Superior, and that'd be kind of ballsy for someone to bring Sticky Webs versus the Superior team. So
yeah, absolutely. I think this game was a great illustration of the more competitive side of the WBE this season, because we had 2 top players going against each other, and just one turn, just one lapse in concentration by Kelly where he just allowed the Mega Aggron to take that chip and get burnt. That pretty much cost him the game, and he was fighting on the back foot from that point onwards. And it just really shows you that even top players, just getting one turn wrong like that decides the whole match pretty much.
Okay, it did. Yeah, it did get burned.
How difficult these matches are.
I thought I was remembering the battle incorrectly for a little bit, so I was like, did he get burned?
No,
I literally had to go back and check.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm almost certain I remember getting burned, yeah.
But I really liked Aaron's prep especially. He really bounced back from his game, and he like used it as a learning curve last week against Luke. And he just used it as a learning curve and was like, hey, I need to play better, prep better, and just think throughout my game better. And you can really see that in his commentary and his gameplay and everything this week from Aaron's side. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, absolutely, completely agree.
Do you want to move on to one of your games or your 3 games, and then we'll discuss those and what happened?
So actually,
so I think
mentioning Game Boy.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I know we were going to mention. Well, yeah, we can talk about the 2 games back to back because they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay, do you want to lead into it then?
Yes. No, you can lead into it, but I was just thinking to myself.
Okay, yeah. So mentioning Game Boy Luke and his game last week, I was going to go into Gators' game against Game Boy Luke this week, which I thought was a really interesting matchup. We have Gator sitting at a record of, I believe, 2-1 now, or I might have been wrong going into this week, and Game Boy Luke sitting at 3-0. Gator did point out that this was the second week in a row he's facing an undefeated coach, so pretty tough early season schedule for Gator. But I think I probably owe this man an apology, because in week 1 I said that Gator's draft was pretty bad, and I thought he was going to struggle all season, but he did manage to pull off a 6-0 win against Game Boy Luke, someone who's really impressed me during the season so far. So yeah, definitely huge score on the board from Gator, showing off that he can play even with a arguably not optimal draft. Definitely an interesting one. He basically just led off with the Archeops. He brought Z ahead smash so that he could just lock up a KO turn 1, and it happened to be on the Tentacruel, which was so huge to then allow his Keldeo to spread around Toxic, and in general for him to just wear down his opponent's team. I felt like the Tentacruel was a really crucial kind of Toxic immunity to stop that status spread.
Yeah, honestly, like I never really understand. Like obviously people misplay and stuff like throughout the battles and stuff, but I never really understood, like, if you have a Mon as important as Tentacruel is to trying to stop a Keldeo, I don't really understand the mindset of let's bring it in on the Mon that yes, you could, it was okay against Archeops, but there's Earthquake and Z head smash, he did bring. There's just too many ways that Archeops can damage Tentacruel, which just doesn't seem like a very optimal play, if that makes sense to me. But like, also, as we're going to talk about in the next game, the Noibats versus the Umbreons, this game also featured like a lot of sub-toxic shenanigans, just like the next game we're going to talk about as well. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so one thing I would say on Luke's letting the Tentacruel go down, I think maybe it just comes from a little bit of inexperience, maybe not expecting the Archeops to be running the Z like that. You don't often see Archeops in Open Z format, is a bit of a nightmare with that kind of thing. And I guess he felt that the Delmise would be a sufficient check to the Keldeo. He probably wasn't necessarily expecting sub-toxic Keldeo. However, maybe at team preview, seeing Keldeo brought against a team like this, you might start to suspect it would be some sort of shenanigans like that. But as you rightly say, there was definitely some backlash in the comment section. A lot of people talking about sort of sub-toxic stall. I saw some people sort of complaining that Gator's prep made the game essentially skillless, whatever, for him to play. I really didn't feel like that was the case. I thought that Gator prepped and played incredibly well. Bringing the Z head smash, leading off with it, and claiming that KO turn 1 isn't skillless. Like, that's good prep. And then he really maintained his offensive momentum well. People want to talk about stall, but he was switching things like Keldeo, which we commonly think of as an offensive mon. He was switching that hard in on the Mega Scissors Bullet Punches. He brought Zeraora in hard on a Lando Eye. I mean, if he'd gone for Earth Power, that Zeraora was getting destroyed. But he was making these offensive pivot plays, getting in his offensive mons to constantly maintain pressure and momentum on Game Boy Luke. Even the sub-Torment Tran, he used that really well, where he predicted Luke to switch out and preserve his Scrafty, and got a free sub-up so that he could then break through another mon. I think it was the Lando in particular. So
I thought it was Necrozma, actually.
It might have been Necrozma. I think you might be right, because then I think it was Earth Power Necrozma, wasn't it? And he pivoted his Seller beyond that.
And it was worked out really well in that regard.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like he can torment the Earth Power, and he can never use that to like beat the Heatran down, and then Heatran just basically 1v1s the Necrozma.
Yeah, and if you've ever kind of played standard stall, it doesn't really work like that. That's a very intelligent build and a very difficult thing to play around. And I definitely felt like Luke actually did play decently well. He just lost a crucial piece in Tentacle turn 1 and never really managed to recover or seemed to get his head back in the game. I think he was put on the back foot and struggled to regain his composure, but that definitely happens, and I'm sure he'll bounce back 100%. I thought maybe lacking in prep a little bit on certain things, like for example, Calm Mind Necrozma with only Psychic plus ground coverage was always going to be walled by a Celebi. I thought it needed Signal Beam or something like that, maybe to break through the Celebi as well. So yeah, maybe one or two things could have been done differently. But in general, I don't think anything should be taken away from Gators' performance. To come out with a 6-0 win against an undefeated coach when you've got a very interesting draft, let's say, is no small feat, and I think Gator deserves all the plaudits for this week.
Oh, I 100% agree. Like, I definitely agreed with all of Gator's prep. He played well and he prepped well, like you said. And, like, he's just... I think this just speaks, like, so much about Gator as a player and a prepper, because even, like you were saying, with an not optimal team that he has, he's still doing well pretty much every single week.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
All right, but let's segue into the next game that kind of goes hand in hand with this previous one, where it's the Atlanta Umbreons taking on the New York Noibats. So Faint of Texas taking on Mewtwo Fannate. So this was another one where Subtoxic Protect, I think it was Sacred Fire's last move on Entei, came.
I think it was Flamethrower, but yeah.
Oh, was it Flamethrower? Oh, okay, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But, like, I understand the frustration where Nate's coming from. And, like, but at the end of the day, if prizes are on the line, if that is the best set, which I think that was the best Entei set that Christian could have brought, like, then you bring that set. That's what it comes down to. It's point blank. It's just like you do what you do to win. It's not like you're not intent. It's not like you're like that's the best set. Point. It doesn't matter how or any. You could like beat around. You Theorymon all day. Like, if it's the best set, it's the best set.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think these things like Subseed, Subtoxic, they can be very obnoxious to play against, and I completely understand, like, Nate even said, it was the best thing to bring, I respect it, but God, is it annoying? And I think that's absolutely the case sometimes, right? You can understand that a set is the right set for the game, but that doesn't make it not infuriating to play against and to try and pivot around. But that being said, I still really thought, like, Nate prepped equally as well as Faintasax did in this game. He brought some heat with the Throat Chop Hydreigon. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, if he somehow like switched in Mega Gardevoir to Hydreigon, it literally couldn't do anything unless it brought Moonblast, which it did not.
Yeah, and then
it works out really well.
Yeah, and conversely, on Nate's side, he brought the Moonblast Sylveon instead of the Hyperforce Sylveon, being aware that Komodo can get soundproof and making sure that he didn't get walled in return. So I definitely felt like Nate's prep was good. I felt like he had a great chance in this match. I just felt like he really rushed his win conditions. So he tried to set up the Cloyster in front of the Regirock, going for the Shell Smash and just getting destroyed by the Rock Slide. And not to mention, there was also that, but in the back, Faintasax still had Prankster Tailwind on his Tornadus Eye, which he'd already shown. So even with the Shell Smash, he could just go into Torn, get the Prankster Tailwind off, and then Revenge Kill with a number of things on his team. So it definitely was just a little bit premature with the setup. I think Nate felt like he was in a commanding position and just got a little bit hasty where he needs to be a bit more patient. And he also didn't manage his sacks perfectly well. He sacked the Delphox rather than sacking some other things, when Delphox was one of the few things that could actually take on Entei, and it really put him in a difficult position late game. I thought the Scarf Lucario looked like it was going to clean up the game at one point, but as I say, I think it was just his haste to get the Cloyster in and to go for game early that really ended up costing him from what had been a pretty good position.
Yeah, I really think he could have won the game if he just like came in later against the he could have set it up so the Red Rock has to come back in later and then set up like maybe 5 to 10 turns down the line rather than like right then and there. I really think it's also
I think
he doesn't have like any Stealth Rockers on his team, right? Like, does he? Because I haven't seen him bring Stealth Rocks in a while.
He didn't bring any this week. He brought I think he had Spikes on Chestnut, but I wouldn't swear to that. But he definitely didn't have any rocks this week for sure.
Exactly.
I think he has made some trades though. So.
Oh, he has Mega Steelix as his only Stealth Rocker, I believe.
Okay, which is definitely difficult. If that doesn't have matchup, then suddenly you're without rocks. Which
I'm kind of surprised he didn't bring it because of Mega Gardevoir and everything. Like, Mega Steelix is really, really bulky, and you could live hits from Mega, like +1 Focus Blast from Mega Gardevoir. and get him up.
Yeah,
and
it felt like Nate's prep was more just orientated towards HO, just try and hit everything as quick as it could. I mean, I know the Sylveon had quick attack and stuff on it. It was a more offensively built Sylveon. I think he's just trying to play overwhelm offense. But when you do that, the most important thing is picking which ones you sack at the right times and making sure you preserve the ones that you need. And I think that was a little bit where he went wrong. But I would say that when you're coming off the back of playing some very difficult games like Nate's had, he's played some of the top battlers in the league, and your record is not as good as you would like, I think you do get a little bit hasty, you do get a little bit impatient, and you go for games perhaps earlier than you want to, just because you're so desperate to get that first W on the board. And I don't think it's a reflection of how he's been playing at all this season, and I'm absolutely certain he's going to get a win soon, because his prep isn't bad at all, and he definitely has a good early game. He's just got to get that end game positioning a little bit better, I think.
100% agreed. Do you want to transition into the next battle of...
Well, I should also give credit to Feint Attacks, because as much as we've discussed Nate's game and stuff, Feint Attacks played really, really well. He was definitely caught off guard by the throat chop. I know that he didn't realise that stopped type of voice and stuff, so there was definitely some interesting moments there. But things like Offensive Regirock and Tailwind Taunt Eye really did put in some work, so I think he deserves full credit for still winning this game 4-0, and that shouldn't be taken away from him in any way. But as you say, we can move now into the Elliott versus Tup game. Old Man Tup versus Galactic Elliott. Really interesting matchup, this one. At Team Preview, when Tup didn't bring the Gliscor against a team with Mega Ampharos, with Sakataka, with Scolipede, and there was no Gliscor, I was stunned.
I was mind-boggled.
I was absolutely stunned.
Baffled. All the crazy adjectives that mean that's what I was.
Yeah, I think it just... I don't know. I think it gave Elliott so much confidence at Team Preview. You could see he was like, well, I have a great chance at no Gliscor. Wow, that's one of the main things I wanted to break, and now I don't have to do that. Scolipede at Team Preview, if it wasn't Magnet Rise or Thunderwave Klefki, which it turned out to be, but once the Klefki was broken, I think Scolipede alone could have 6-0'd. And there was one point where Galactic Elliott actually had the chance to set up a Sword Stance as Tup switched into the Charizard, I want to say it was. But as he switched, he could have set up the Sword Stance, and he would have just cleaned up the game from that point with Scolipede. But he didn't pull the trigger on it. He didn't go for the SD, and so the game ended up being a little bit longer. But for sure, I felt like I understand that Tup wants to bring offensive teams. He wanted to stack hazards with Roserade. He wanted to to paralyze things with Klefki to slow them down and then just win. But his team is still really very slow. And so coming up against a fast offensive team or a team with speed control and stack attack at Trick Room, I don't know, I felt like it was very difficult for him to ever kind of position that game to a winning position, in my opinion.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And like a note about Gliscor, had he wanting to Thunderwave and because Gliscor would have made him switch a lot. And if you wanted to stack hazards, having Gliscor on your team to pressure Elliott's entire team would have been really ideal.
Yeah, and if you look at the team composition on Tup's side, every time Ampharos comes in, it clicks Volt Switch, which nearly always brings out the Roserade, which then in turn brings out the Scolipede, which he has no switch into because he didn't bring the Gliscor. So it's kind of this circular pattern where one of the best breakers always gets free momentum to come in from one of the best pivots, and you don't have any check to that because the Gliscor didn't come. So yeah, I really felt like I put him on the back foot. However, he did still play well, and he did still fight his way into the game. The Klefki did really, really well in this matchup, being able to spread around T-Wave and stuff to kind of scare Elliott out with a lot of things. But in the end, Trick Room Stack Attacker, I think, was always going to come through. It did get paralyzed and did manage to break through paralysis 3 times, including landing a Stone Edge on the final turn. But if your endgame win con is your opponent either getting paralyzed or missing, then you're not in the best position, really. So definitely a tough match for Tup this week.
No, you're 100% correct about that. But I think that'll do it and wrap it up for this section of the weekly recaps. So basically what's going to happen, like we said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to go transition into mine alone, and I'll record it separately, and then we'll be back next week, hopefully together again. It's unfortunate, but that's the way time zones work.
Yeah, it can't be helped, and I'm just glad that we managed to do these together because it's been a ton of fun.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, WBE fans, we're back with my last 3 battles. First up, we're going to take on Lord Envy versus Sacred, the Chicago Bouffalants versus the San Diego Chimchargers. And Envy literally just played this game pretty much perfectly. Like, he just brought in Registeel pretty much all the time. Clicking sub, clicking toxic, and just like wearing down his team really, really well. And he made sure to keep his rocks off his field for mons like his Sash Doug Trio, which worked out really well, and his Ditto, not rocks for the Ditto, but he played Ditto really, really well too. And honestly, it's just like pivoting into your opponent's Pokemon with Ditto, scouting the items, and like clicking. Like just intimidating the Arcanine. Just he played Ditto really well too. Overall, it was just a really good game from Envy's perspective, and it was a really tough matchup for Sacred, just because for one, the matchup was tough, and another thing, I'm surprised he didn't bring like Tapu Fini, just because the fact that Toxic is like really frustrating for most teams to face, especially mons like Registeel, who can run sub-toxic protect and everything like that. It's just like incredibly annoying to deal with, and having him on like Tapu Fini just would have shut that down, and I think it would have helped Sacred out a lot this matchup. Now I'm not really too sure why he didn't bring Tapu Fini, because it was actually a pretty good check to a lot of Pokemon on Envy's team. Like if you were Rindoberry, you could have taken a hit from the Mega Sceptile. Moonblast would have been doing a good chunk to an Azumarill if it was like a Belly Drum, and you can easily live +6 Aqua Jets for days. And just like overall, it just would have been super solid to deal with and face a Ditto and help deal with Envy's team overall, and just so you didn't get statused. But it was, like I said, it was a tough matchup for Sacred, and I'm sure he'll bounce back next week, or hopefully, and get his first win of the season. And Envy is on a tear right now, going 4-0, I think like +17 or something, +13, something of that nature. But yeah, pretty straightforward match. Like the game went like how you would think, with knowing the two teams and everything, and knowing the two team builders, I should say. Team builders is like the two teams that were built, not the two players themselves. But anyway, let's move on to a very offensive match between Leo, aka 6-Foot Hacks, and his Durham Druddigons, or Duke-Goat Druddigons, and facing Jodor and his Seattle Sea Kings. I followed Jodor's team builder, and he brought 6 Setamons, I'm pretty sure. Or did he have SDN Sneasel? I can't remember. But he brought 6 Setamons, and I don't know how to critique that a little bit, because honestly, that is interesting, because setup, while is important, I don't think is always needed on, especially L6 Mons. I think he could have played a little bit differently, but I like how he tried something different from Joe's end. He knew he needed to try something different, because what he was doing wasn't really working, so he went and completely did a 180 and reversed and did an opposite of what he was, because I think he was trying to build like more balanced or defensive teams early in the season, and now he tried something different, which I respect. And then I think he's making some transactions this week, so that'll help him out probably, and maybe suit to his playstyle a little more, and we'll see what happens. But Leo did Leo things. Mega Lop just did Mega Lop things and utterly destroyed most of Jodor's team. The counter, I do want to say, the counter lead, Sash lead Sneasel was really clever on Jodor's part and knocked out Steelix, albeit for rocks getting up, which were kind of important. I mean, getting that rock chip, because I think he did bring another Focus Sash user. Was it Infernape, or I don't remember which one, but I'm pretty sure he brought 2 Focus Sash users, so preventing rocks would have been nice. He could have like taunted with Sneasel and then done the whole counter shenanigans and then knocked it out, and that would have been ideal, and Amon would have went down. But he didn't do that, so that's okay. Leo had plenty of things in the back to probably still pull out this game anyway, even if he had that lead. But overall, like, Megalop did well, and Jodor did forfeit the last turn of the battle, which is like, yeah, you could have just let Amon get knocked out, because you still lose 4-0. So, I mean, it's still losing 4. It's not like you lose 4-1 and only lose 3 differential points. No, it's still 4-0, because you would have lost anyway. So, not too sure about why he forfeited when he just had to click one turn. Like the previous match, Sacred versus Envy, it was understandable why Sacred ended up forfeiting, because there was nothing that his Amoonguss could do to the Registeel, and Registeel would have just slowly but surely eliminated Amoonguss, which made sense. Like, why sit through like 10 more minutes of gameplay just for Registeel to slowly knock down the Amoonguss, you know? Like, with animation stuff, saves yourself time. I understand that. But anyway, it was just a very offensive match, and I think both players brought pretty offensive teams, especially Jodor. Leo, I think, was more balanced, but still, it was a good win by Leo, and he's also 4-0, which is neat. And then what was the last matchup I have to cover? I honestly can't remember. Fun times are fun. I think it was... Oh, yes, duh. It was the Patty Trills versus the Kyle A game. So the Sin City Scissors versus the Miami Don fans. This was a really fun game to watch, honestly. Like, Kyle brought some good sets. He brought Trick Room. Knowing his team is pretty... Like, his team loses to Sticky Webs, he brought... a lot of speed control, Trick Room and Z Thunder with Cresselia, and just overall he did play to the best of what he could with the matchup he was given. And Patty did exactly what he needed to do. He brought the mons that he needed to do. The Incineroar and Mega Alakazam especially did super, super well. He clicked sub on the Cresselia, which clicking sub versus Cresselia is like always the way because Cresselia really can't. It's pretty, if you don't like building correctly, like you can be set up on pretty easily, and that's exactly what Patty ended up doing, setting up a substitute on the Cresselia with Megazam, clicking Calm Mind, and then clicking another Calm Mind, getting up to +2/+2, and essentially just winning the game. There really wasn't a whole lot Kyle could have done at that point, but I do like the Trick Room aspect. It helped his team out immensely, especially because webs were so good versus him. Like, honestly, like, it was just a pretty rough matchup, but that's why Mega Alakazam is such a threat in Draft League. Not all the teams have the capability, especially having 10 Mons on your team opposed to 11 or 12, some leagues allow. It's kind of like having that extra Mon to help deal with it is nice. Whereas, like, in 10 Mon teams, like, it's very difficult to find a switch into Mega Alakazam. Like, you could have brought, like, a Saltvis Diancie or something like that to help deal with it, but it's just fruitful kind of at that point. Like, just Mega Alakazam is one of the bigger threats of the format, and it's hard to deal with, especially and the fact that Lando T didn't even come, and Patty Trills was just in such a commanding position without Lando T being there. Oof, Patty Trills is definitely impressing me with his play and prep throughout the season so far. 100%. But anyway, that will wrap it up for week number 3 of the WBE. We had some fun games. A lot of them were kind of blowouts this week, but I think as we progress throughout the season, the matchups will get closer. The playoff push is going to come on strong, and people are really going to start prepping hard for these games because they want to try to make a playoff push in becoming the inaugural WBE champion with the title belt. Not the inaugural WBE champion. The inaugural champion is the 2-time defending champion, Wolf of Glick. But anyway, that'll do it for week number 4, I'm an idiot, of WBE, the Shield Division recap. I will edit this right now and get it up and drive as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day. Peace.